So we're honored to be here and welcome, Lori. So
Welcome. Hi, Tammy. It's good to be here.
it is, and we're just waiting on our guest to arrive. But in the meantime, thank you so much for being here. We're honored to have you here, and we're hoping that you're having a great week.
Yes, while there's some devastating news around the world, we want to honor that and acknowledge that those many things are happening around the world. We want to encourage you to be positive, to pray for circumstances around the world. I am from Texas. It's so interesting how Tammy's from Idaho and uh, something happened in Idaho not a long time
Yeah, we
ago.
had the shooting here
Hmm.
with the fire department, and I was actually down there and for 2 hours of sirens nonstop. So it was really sad and it's devastating. And of course, our church and different places are helping the firemen out here. And then, of course, you have that going on in Texas, which is so devastating. And we've seen stuff, like you said, all over the world. So
And
all
in
we
a
can do
world,
is,
yeah, full of those already negative circumstances, whether it's man inflicted or nature inflicted, let's just be positive. And I insist on inviting you, challenging you to post in your post things that are uplifting, positive. We're all about being positive here to try to make the most out of experiences and grow and learn and be kind to each other and all that. So that is our invitation as we open this episode. And like Tammy said, we're gonna have Paddy Kennedy. She's been a guest already in our show and an amazing voice. She is a coach and also she's an author, and we're excited to have her here and ask her so many questions about her story and her journey.
oh, yes. And but I want to make one more comment, Lori. I see all these different mean comments. People don't think if you're posting and you think people don't see it, you're wrong. Make sure your words matter. Kindness matters. And it speaks volumes when you're sitting there blaming, um, calling names. And I can't believe the how people rip into. It's kind of like a friend of mine, her son, when he was a young teenager, he dug a hole into the sand, a tunnel, and it collapsed on him. And he was buried for like over an hour or 20 minutes it took for him, but a prayer circle had surrounded him and prayed for him. He survived. You know how many
Wonderful.
mean people commented and wrote him and said, you should be dead, or wrote her and said, your son should be dead. Why is he alive? It's not fair. And just the meanest comment. When she showed him to me, I couldn't believe how mean somebody could be, you know?
Absolutely. Very out of touch, very insensitive. And Tammy, if it's okay, I want to read a quote that speaks about this by Ronald Rasband. He said, let me suggest three simple phrases that we can use to take the sting out of difficulties and differences, lift and reassure each other. Three simple little phrases. Thank you. I am sorry. And I love you. And do not save these humble phrases for a special event or catastrophe. Use them often and sincerely, for they show regard for others. Talk is growing cheap. Do not follow that pattern. We can say thank you on the elevator, in the parking lot, at the market, in the office, in a queue, or with our neighbors or friends. We can say, I'm sorry when we make a mistake, miss a meeting, forget a birthday, or see someone in pain. Wow, I am sorry. What a concept, guys. So, like Tammy's saying, post things that are elevating. I want it to be a little bit more, you know, but Tammy said it out loud and straightforward. Like, don't post things that are mean or that suggest that you're being out of touch on something that you don't have all the details on. So he
Well,
says here, I am sorry when we make a mistake, miss a meeting, forget a birthday, or see someone in pain. There's so many people in pain right now. All these communities in Idaho, all these communities in Texas, many places around the world. We can say, I am sorry. We can say, I love you. And those words carry the message, I'm thinking about you. I care about you. I'm here for you, or you're everything to me. or I respect you, I should add, and I close quote. But instead of accusing, pointing fingers, and being so negative, let's say, let's grow together. Let's pray together. Let's hope for the best together. And if you have posted something already negative, say, I shouldn't have posted that. What I meant to say is this instead. Or I'm sorry that I posted
Or
that
just go delete it.
and delete it. But you know what? Yes, even when you delete it, people are gonna remember that was there. So
Oh,
you can own up to your actions and your words and say, I deleted this post. And yes, not say anything about it, but if it had enough reaction and comments, people already saw that you did there was some damage. You can just own up to your words and say, I deleted this because it was causing controversy. I didn't want me to do that. What I wanted to say was blah 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 blah, and do it um in a more positive way, because like he says, talking is growing cheap and we need to be better. So our guest is here. I hope you guys get receive
well,
all
her
that
note
with it.
taker is. Let's see.
Yeah,
And
I hope you guys receive that with the intention that Tammy and I send it out, and like, let's grow
oh
together.
yes, because what people don't realize is a lot of times they think they're attacking some one person, but what they don't realize is they're attacking other people that are like-minded, and it could be your own friend, it could be your family. So really,
Or the
really
people in
watch what
pain,
your
the people
words.
in pain, some of these parents that are scratching their heads saying, wow, I lost a life, and this is what I hear from you. So let's be mindful, let's be kind out there, and let's enjoy Patty now. Welcome,
Welcome,
Patty.
Patty. We're so honored to have you.
Thank you. I'm so annoyed. Why does it that the thing comes in on my phone, the message comes in on my phone, and when I go to my computer on Facebook Messenger, sometimes it's not there. So I've been freaking out, like, how do I get on? And I was watching you, and ay, ay, ay.
I know, and
Technology
Anyway,
can
sometimes
be
it makes you make
tricky.
those codes or re-sign in. Believe me, we get it.
yeah. And they keep changing it. My mom used to say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And they keep changing things. Anyway, I've been listening to you, and this thing about mean. There's something that the Persian poet Hafiz said. The words you speak will be the house you live in.
That's deep.
And it's very true. Like, we all need to be watching our language. Words really matter. They carry tremendous power, tremendous vibration. Of course, we'll talk tonight about how the voice contributes to that vibration. But words are like toothpaste. Once they're out of the tube, you can't put them back.
Oh,
And they
yes.
hurt and they can destroy people. So when I
And
hear you
destroy
talking,
relationships. And like you said, just especially if somebody's already down, it's like the
yeah,
worst thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's like, let's make sure our words matter, that our words are kindness and help, not
I
and
agree.
encourage and inspire, not destroy.
Yep, I agree 100%. And I think that it's so easy now in today's world to just because you're hiding behind the social media thing, people can't really see you. You might not even be using your own name. You might have some little handle that you're using. But wow, it doesn't matter if people know who you are. The vibration of those words are going to come back because you have to own them because they do become the house you live in and you cannot escape it. So if you want to be happy, people, change your language, change your narrative. That's what it is. Anyway, I'm so happy to be here with you. I've been really looking forward to this, and it's just a great thrill to be here. So
Well, we're
let's
so
get this.
excited to have you. So, and how is Dubai today?
It's actually, oh,
Your camera just went off.
100 degrees Fahrenheit today. It was 128 the other day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's hot, but everything is air conditioned. Dubai is fine. It's, just the other day I was seeing that in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the country, they are now testing the flying taxis. So we will have flying taxi cabs
Oh,
soon.
wow.
Explain more. Educate me. What is that? What is that?
It's literally, it looks like a great big drone. And because the traffic is really bad in, especially in Dubai. There's like one main road called Sheikh Zayed Road. There's other main roads, but nothing as main as Sheikh Zayed Road. And so I used to live in New York and I thought traffic in New York was bad, but traffic in Dubai is getting out of control. So they've been working on these flying taxis and there's going to be one very soon. That's the thing I love about Dubai is that when before I moved here, I thought, oh, I don't know, they have to have the tallest building and the biggest that and the biggest this. And I thought, wow, this sheikh must have some kind of big ego. But then I lived here and I began to study him. And he is a man that, first of all, as I teach all my leadership clients, the most important thing is to have courage as a leader, and secondly, a vision. So Dubai 50 years ago was a complete desert. And now it's just a booming metropolis. The whole world is here. And he believed that it's not impossible. So when they were building Burj Khalifa, the tallest, my camera keeps going off. I don't know why. I won't move so much. The sheikh said to the architect, no, you can do better. And the architect went back, and now he made it the tallest building. And the sheikh said, yeah, but I think you can do better. And the architect said, it's impossible. And he said, it's never impossible. So, and the other thing that I love about Sheikh Mohammed is that he said there is no finish line. You just keep going, right? You just keep innovating, you keep creating, you keep dreaming. So it's a great city for that. However, I am moving to Abu Dhabi at
Are
the
you?
end of September because it's a little bit quieter. And it's the capital city. And for my work, it's better for me to be in a capital city where all the headquarters are, take my work a little bit more seriously. But really, no matter what you hear about what's going on in the Middle East, is that Dubai is, and all of the country is so safe. Like you can leave your wallet, and 3, 4 hours later, you're going to get it. You lose your phone, you're going to get it. You can lose your tablet, you're going to get it. As a matter of fact, about a year or so ago, I lost some cash that fell out of my pant pocket when I was at the supermarket. A couple of days later, I was looking for it and I thought, I didn't spend it. So I thought, I wonder if it's at the supermarket. So I went back to the supermarket and I said to the young woman, I wonder if I left some cash here if it fell out of my pocket. How much? And she was all excited. And I said, I know about 165, 170 dirhams. It was 165 dirham and we have it. So these are the things that it's very safe. It's a very safe place for women and for children. This whole part of the world, but especially Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is considered, I think, for the 10th year in a row, the safest city in the world.
Well, I remember hearing Kevin O'Leary say the same thing. If he was to lose anything like one of his expensive watches, he knows he would get it back. Where any
Always
place
get
else
it
in the
back.
world you want it.
Yep. And I used to think it's because there's cameras everywhere, but it's actually the culture. Like they take pride in making sure that you get back whatever it is you lost, and especially in cash. I remember going to pay my phone bill for the machine, and the person two in front of me, he got cash back, but he walked away. So the guy in front of me pulled the cash, went to the security guard, and said, "This cash was left in the machine." I mean, come on, most of us in North America, we'd look around and we'd put it in the pocket. Not all of us, but many people,
Right.
that's the norm. That wouldn't happen here. And it is really a kind of pride that the people in Dubai and in the United Arab Emirates, and I lived in Oman for years, and I have to say they're like that as well. So let's just fingers crossed and pray to
Oh,
God that it
nice.
stays
Well,
that way.
yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, I always tell people don't believe the media because a lot of the
Exactly.
media makes everything out worse than it is or not as
Yep.
bad as it is.
Yep.
It's never
Yep.
100% the truth. And
Yep.
I'm not trying to put down any media. I'm just saying I've watched after just some of the stuff that's happened and being in those places, they don't always
Yep.
say everything or they add on stuff that shouldn't have been added on. So,
It's
and I
100% for my son. My son was saying, Mom, can't you just be like all the other mothers and come home? I said, have you ever met your mother? Anyway, finally he came here. And after just a few short days, he said, okay, I get it. First of all, because of my age. He said the way they respect you and the way people treat you is really something. He said, and I really get it. You are safe. You're safer here than you are on the streets of my beautiful, beloved Vancouver. And yeah, I am. So, and you can have a life. Like if you like to go to the bar to have a drink, you can go to the bar and have a drink. Can't do that like in Saudi Arabia. Can't do that in Oman, but you can do that in the UAE. So it's very modern and still very much respectful to the culture and safe for children. I mean, your children could be running at the beach at 10 o'clock at night. There's nobody that's going to come and say, you want to come to my van and see my puppy? There's just nothing like that here. It's unbelievable.
Is it
And
because
like we're,
there's laws that is it law and order and people are not fear, like I I love the Bible, so the word fear to me means respect. There's respect for the
Mhm.
law because they
It's
implement it.
that. It is that. It's also very much the culture. It's just like there's everybody is here, the whole world is here, and more coming in all the time. And people have just adopted and adapted to this culture of kindness, of taking care of each other. And I mean, if you want to step outside the law, there's a good chance you're an expat and you'll just be deported. Let me just quickly tell you one story and then we can get to the thing. So a dear friend of mine, her daughter, they're Lebanese, but daughter's been living here for a very long time, had her children here, raised the children. And she was going to a big mall here because malls are still that it's too hot, so everybody meets in malls, right? And she had a big SUV, and the parking spot was a little bit too small. So she stopped and she let her girlfriend out, and the girlfriend had two children, and also the young woman's children got out. And some guy was impatient. He was honking at her and he cursed at her. And it really upset Rania. So she parked the car finally. Everybody got out. Everything was okay. She went into the security at the mall and she told them what happened. So I said, 1 second here. And they pulled up the camera. Was the guy. There he was screaming at her. And do you know, about 2 weeks later, she got a phone call. We found your guy. He's an expat. What would you like us to do? We could either put him in jail, we could fine him and put him in jail, or we could and export and deport him, or we could give him a warning, and if he ever does it again, he'll get deported. And she said, I go for that last choice. Give him. I mean, come on. Oh my gosh! Every time I hit my microphone, my cord, my
So,
camera goes.
you know
Sorry.
what's sad
So
is actually our country was like that. I grew up where you could leave
yeah,
cash out, you could leave anything out. Nothing was ever stolen. People pitched in
yeah,
to help. You
yeah,
saw volunteerism
yeah.
everywhere. People would
Yeah.
step up to the plate. I must say, our church has thousands of volunteers that help out because we do a lot of youth programs, a lot of problems to help for mental health, everything. So it's a community church, so which is awesome to have all these people that volunteer. But I remember when I first was volunteering, it was like you always ask the people that are the busiest because they're the ones that will make sure they follow through, you know.
That's true. That's
But
true.
to get
Yep.
off that subject, I was in
Yes.
Canada in May. So, well,
Oh,
I
were
only live an
you?
hour from the Canadian border. But I did realize that the middle of May is not the best time to go up to Banff
It
because
was
they're
still cold.
it wasn't bad, but they're redoing everything, getting everything
Oh,
ready for the summer
yeah,
crowd. And so they closed
yeah.
off like trails to waterfalls or hot springs and different things.
And they were probably because it's pretty close to Kananaskis, where the G7 summit was. So they might have been getting everything really ready because it would attract a lot of traffic through that. It's too
Yeah, they
bad, but at
said it was
least you
getting ready, but it's beautiful up there.
did.
So
Yeah. And you didn't get chased by a polar bear or a grizzly bear, so that's good. There's
I was
lots of
there.
bears up there.
I
Yeah, I
saw
was there
grizzly bear
last year.
tracks in one of the areas.
Oh,
So,
did you?
oh
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
was there
beautiful.
last year, just on the other side of the Niagara Falls, on the Niagara Falls
Yeah.
area. It was lovely. But Patty, we know that you've empowered voices, especially women's voices, in over 30 countries and have coached a lot of people. Tell us a little bit about that, your journey, and why did you choose to do that?
Well, I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version, okay? I actually started coaching. It's going to be in September, 54 years since I signed my first coaching contract. I was
Wow.
a top Canadian figure skater, competitive figure skater, who ended up, I was training for the Olympic team. I missed the trials and I ended up very disabled. So I had done nothing all my life except skate, figure skate, because I was, going to the Olympics. I knew this when I was 10.
Okay, we're going to
It
stop
was
you right here. What happened? How did you get hurt?
Well, first of all, I was born with a disability and they didn't know what it was. So they said, put her in sports and that'll help. But also in those days, it was before sports medicine. So we just didn't train the way that we train athletes today. So there was a lot of poor technique, skating in the freezing cold rinks in these little tiny skating dresses with these little thin little stockings, tights, but they were very thin. They don't do that now. They warm up, but we didn't know in those days. So what was meant to help me ended up in a way, in some ways made it worse, but in other ways, I would do it all over again because the discipline that I got from it and that soul satisfaction of doing what you love. I mean, you two must know this because I think you're doing what you love. When you do what you love, you can pretty much conquer any kind of adversity. So I ended up quite disabled. And at 19, when you're in that world, you either become a professional skater in the ice shows, which was out of the question for me, or you begin to coach. So I began coaching. But it was too cold, it was too difficult. My body was just getting worse and worse. They didn't know until maybe in my mid 40s what it was, and they still don't really have a name for it, but there's evidence. It's a problem with the central nervous system. I don't make painkillers. I have apparently up to as much as 10 times the amount of the substance, the chemical that carries pain to the brain, and I don't make painkillers. So this is kind of a bit of a problem. I still take medication for it. So I ended up at about 26 or 27, and I really didn't. I'd gone to school half days from grade 7 on. I didn't have any other education. I was top trained athlete, and my body just broke down. But there were two things. I was raised by a single mom. She raised four kids, and she didn't want anybody to know that we came from the wrong side of the track. So every night after dinner, we had to do elocution. We had to give little mini speeches, and she would evaluate us. And the other thing was, I was raised in Catholic schools, and there was a nun in grade 11, and she said to me, quite intuitively, to be honest, in case this skating thing doesn't work out, you should always remember you're a very good communicator and you're a very good writer. Don't forget that. So when the wheels fell off the bus, I had what my mom had taught me, as taught all of us, and I had what this teacher said. So I'm making it sound like it all happened overnight. It didn't. It was a very long journey. I can tell you all about depression. I can tell you all about losing everything, losing the dream, it all coming crashing down. But I look at it now as all of it was a gift because it taught me to how to be who I am. It helped me to come into the world. And I spent many years traveling around to many different cultures because Western medicine couldn't help me. They wanted to amputate a leg.
Oh,
And
no.
I don't think about that. I don't think that's a good idea. So I
Mm-mm.
just, again, without any plan, I just started meeting up with these healers, bush doctors, medicine men and women from First Nations people, Ayurvedic medicine people. And over the about 25 years, I traveled around trying to find out how can I make myself better. And the quick story of it is that no matter how sick I got, I thought you always have your voice and you always are able to communicate. I mean, you could be lying on a stretcher and you still have your voice and you still have this ability to communicate. So in 1990, I enrolled in the National Institute of Broadcasting in Toronto, and I began to study voice. And I chose radio over television because I loved radio. It was like an art. Nobody can see you. You don't have body language. You don't have anything. You have your voice that keeps the people listening. And that became placement for my art. And I'm still studying voice. Here we are 35 years later, and I'm still studying voice. So it all came together. I'm making it all in one short little thing. But then I got invited to move to New York, and I moved to New York and I began to work. And I got a lot of experience in international and global business, multinational business. I was working in communication, how to help these guys present. I realized that people were missing the most magnificent of all the instruments, the human voice. And so I began to put everything together. Now here we are all these years later, and voice is very central to what I do. Now, I was just where I'm staying with a very dear friend. I'm house sitting. She's about to go to Ireland for the summer, and I'm house sitting for her. And she had a friend over for dinner. And she said, "What was the greatest thing about being a radio journalist?" I said, "I got to interview the Dalai Lama
Hmm.
in 1993." And we talked about a lot of things because I was with Broadcast News, which is the largest broadcast arm in Canada. I got a long time. I had a 45-minute session with him, just one-on-one, the two of us. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't really have anything planned per se, but I just wanted to have a conversation, and I did. And I remember saying to him at some point, and it's so apropos to what we're going through today. I said to him, "What do you think is the biggest threat facing humanity today?" And he said, "It is the men in power and their love of war and war toys." And here we are today with wars all over the place and this peril that we're facing. And I said, "So what can I do?" He said, "You're a woman. You need to help women around the world find their voice. They need to
Mm.
come to the table, and we need them at the table because when there are women at the table, there will not be so much war." So
Wonderful.
that was, yeah, very powerful. But back then, nobody knew me. I had no reputation. I was just working. We didn't even have the internet back then. But as time went on, I began to realize, and we got internet, and I was able to take my company into 120 countries. And I began to realize how many women, especially in leadership, aren't, they don't understand the power of this magnificent instrument. It is the most magnificent of all the instruments, and it's the most difficult to play. So I started to really incorporate it. And as I said earlier, I'm still studying voice. And as Wordsworth, the poet, said, the human voice is the organ of the soul. And so, Tammy, you asked me earlier about, is your voice your value or your values? Well, if you, as women especially, if your voice is way up there, high pitched, we've all heard them, God love it. They're doing their best, but they've just got that voice that people don't want to listen to. Or they got that really little girly voice and nobody takes them seriously. And this is not a judgment of them. It's just that they have not yet come to understand the magnificence, the resonance, the vibrational quality of the human voice, which we now know through the study of neurochemistry and neural reactions, that the vibration of each one of us, of our voices, can actually go into the brains of our listeners and create new neural pathways, new synapses, so that people start to think about what you're talking about in ways they've never thought of before.
I
That's
have a
This,
amazing.
question.
yes, please.
What patterns then have you noticed when it comes to people, especially women, finding or silencing their brave voice?
Oh, Lori, that's the best question. So, because no, I go through this a lot. Like, do you know? There's lots of studies now that back this. But when women are in the minority in a room or in an office meeting or whatever, we will speak 75% less than men. Because we maybe have some imposter syndrome and we don't want anybody to think that we don't know what we're talking about. Men have what's called, and I didn't make up the term, honest false confidence. And the key word there is honest. And it's because they've been conditioned, plus they've got deep voices that resonate, but they've been conditioned to speaking up. You ask a man, how did he do it? He'll say, oh, yeah, I aced it. Everybody else is like, not so much. But women, we don't do that, right? We have to be, and I love this about women, that we have to be, we're over preparers. We come really ready. But there's this, it's part socialization, part we don't want to be made a fool of. Most of us have been, we're of the, I mean, I'm older than you two, but we were all taught, shh, be nice, shh, shh. I mean, I think all
Sit
women
and
that
be
I work with,
quiet. Hmm.
yeah, and we've been hushed. Do you have to say that? Here we go again. And we have to break through that. So there's a lot of conditioning that happens. And I always say to women, you have to speak to be heard, and you have to speak to be seen. If you want to be seen, you have to speak up. Because if you sit there quietly and say nothing for whatever reason, there's a million reasons why we do it. And we all do it across cultures. It doesn't matter. In this part of the world, in our part of the world, in Europe, in Africa, India, it happens all over. And so we've really got to break through that. And so I wrote this program called Your Brave Voice, and it was for women in leadership, women entrepreneurs. And I chose the word brave. My coach at the time said, you just call it your authentic voice. And I didn't want to use the word authentic because it's, come on, this word, everything's authentic now. It's so much that it's not even authentic anymore.
Yes.
And I thought, well, why aren't we speaking up? Because we need courage. Women are brave. I mean, if we weren't brave, there wouldn't be any babies born.
You're right.
Well, and what you remind me of is when I've done shows, or you go to say a home show or the fair, right? You see the booths where people just sit in the corner, pay attention on their phone, and a lot of times it's women, or they're just doing who knows what, but they don't even make eye contact with you. It's like they're afraid. They don't say anything. But the booths where the women, and when I'm out doing a show, I'm like going, okay, I pay a lot to be here. I'm going to speak to every single person if I can. I lose my voice to by the end of the show, I can't even talk anymore, and I'm
Yeah.
but you don't see them. And you would ask
Exactly.
somebody, well, did you see that booth? And they're like, what booth? They don't even see them if you don't even say hi, it's just that simple.
And that's why you are doing what you're doing, because this is leading by example and letting women know that if you can do it, I can do it, we can do it, they can do it. But it takes training. And I wanted women, and so also let me just say here that when I'm talking a lot about voice, it's like there's a duality of voice. There's your point of view voice. Like, what do you hold to be true, beautiful, and good? And I put women through these exercises. These things about me I know to be true. And then I ask them, just make a list, stream of consciousness writing. The second one is, I love the beautiful way in which and then the goodness in me is. Why is this important? Because when we know these three things, we are in our truth, we are in our beauty, we know who we are, and nobody knocks us off or over because we know. And that's the beginning of your brave voice. Like, find out what is your truth, stand in your truth, and then declare it. And then I teach them the power of the voice, the secrets of the radio journalist, how to keep your audience listening to you by using this magnificent instrument. So, I was talking about a year or so ago, and the woman on a global platform, and the woman who spoke before me, she said something, and I think you women will find this so fascinating. And I talked to her again recently because what she said changed my whole approach. She said, that when asked, 96% of women say that they are not beautiful. Only 4% think they're beautiful. We got to fix this. That's why I want them to say, I love the beautiful way in which and I encourage, and men can do this too, because I'm having an interesting experience with my male clients recently that maybe we'll have time to talk about. But I really encourage women, like, write down on a piece of paper, these things about me I know to be true, and then start every sentence with I am. Do not edit it. Do not criticize it. Just do stream of consciousness writing. Then write on the page, I love the beautiful way in which and then the third exercise is the goodness in me is. And I'm telling you, really powerful women. And then you got to stand up and read it out loud, okay? Because Maya Angelou said that when we add voice to words, that's when they really pick up the power, right?
Patty, excuse me. There are so many people watching, and I apologize because I haven't looked enough to see the
Yeah, we
interaction.
have some great questions for
We
you.
have,
Good.
yeah. So one person asks, how do we speak up without feeling like we're emasculating a man? Is there a language that uplifts and empowers at the same time?
Beautiful question. First of all, we are not emasculating men. If men should feel emasculated because we are standing in our power, that is not our fault. We do not make people feel any certain way. So that gentleman, God love him, he needs to do a little bit of work, find his own truth, his own beauty, and his own goodness. So first of all, we've got to get away from this. I'm threatening. I'm not, people say that, used to say that to me. They don't anymore. I'm not threatening anybody. If you feel threatened by me, you might want to take a look at why you're feeling that way. Now here's something that's really important, and I want everybody to pay attention to this. You can even write this down. Do you know that 90% of conflict, that's 90% of conflict, is due to a tone of voice? And only 10% of conflict is because of difference in opinion. Now, that quotation is used so often, I cannot find the original source. But I use that a lot in my work, and think about it. What I'm telling you is that your tone of voice is your message. If anybody knows the Albert Morabian formula for personal communication, where 55% of oral communication is body language, nonverbal cues, 38% is the voice, and only 7% are the words we use. If you want to communicate positively and effectively, pay attention to what's going on here and pay attention to the face, because when you're really angry, I mean, you might not express yourself, but your face shows it, right? People will always remember the look on your face because the words are down there at 7%. If you want those words to come up and have people listen to you, relax your face and tune into, is this the tone of voice I want? Because if all of a sudden I got really nasty and gnarly, your viewers would hang up. They wouldn't want to be here.
And they wouldn't
And if you
remember
got,
any words you
they
said.
would,
They'd only
they
remember
just
the
remember
nastiness.
what a nasty old girl she is. And that's it. So I hope that answers it. Tone of voice is your message. And if people feel threatened or emasculated, I don't mean to sound cold, but too bad, so sad. That person needs to take a look at why, because it's not your fault. I mean, unless you're actually criticizing the guy and consciously emasculating him. But I think for the most part, we don't do that.
Well, I know that if I'm really upset or angry, I actually take a breather. I go and walk away, walk out in nature because I don't want to come across. I want to make sure it's heard when I do speak the words.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. That's so important. And the pause, I'm working with a woman right now. She's about to give a new presentation, and I think you gals would like her. It's her theme is pause and breathe, pray and connect. So pause, breathe, then pray and get reconnected, and then go. It's a
Love it.
lovely little thing to think of.
So Patty, how is it that women can, I know this will be for a whole seminar, a whole week with you, but if you can sum it up in a nutshell. So that's beautiful. The pause, breathe, pray to connect. But then what can get them off this fear of I'm gonna sound too naggy, or I am so mad right now, I don't know how to emotionally regulate to send my best message um effectively, or the other person is so intimidated by this confidence because when we get to a point where we feel confident enough to say what we need to say and speak up, then the person receiving it is receiving it as a threat, instead of taking us serious. How do we balance that and how do we navigate um, about finding that braveness or courage? And then when we are there, how to then deal with the people that are probably caught off guard with
Yeah.
the new way.
Well, first of all, to be brave means to be really in touch and take that courage to look into yourself. Am I nagging? If I'm nagging, why am I nagging? If I'm too angry, then this is not the time to say that. As Tammy just said, go out and walk. When we breathe down into our bellies, we diaphragmatically breathe, what we do is we oxygenate every cell in our body, including our brain. So if you're feeling hot-headed and on the verge of losing it, you need to pause. Stop. You're not running out of time. You've got time. You can say it in an hour from now. Also, you know what? I mean, I do all this work in corporations, especially, and nobody thinks about strategizing their communication. What is it I want the person to feel after I have this conversation? Remembering that my tone is going to deliver my message. So, do I want to have that snarky, nagging tone, or can I sit for a moment and go, wait a second, I love this person. This is not the end of the world. What do I want this person to feel? Because the best message is the message that is felt. Or conversely, the worst message is the message that is felt. So take that moment, like we got running around like chickens with our heads cut off. Now, listen, I'm in my 70s, so it's easy for me now. I learned the hard way, but I'm going to tell you, there's people out there in the world. I have a very dear friend in Vancouver. She said, don't get Patty to do her Patty dance because when she gets angry, you'll never get over it. I don't do that anymore. You know why? It's too hard on me, first of
Mhm.
all. And then I
Yes.
see that person even years later, and I still feel really bad. Like it wasn't necessary to fly off that way. So to be brave doesn't mean I'm going to say it no matter what. That's not bravery. That's actually being a chicken.
Mhm.
Being brave is to say, what do I want this person to feel? How do I want this person to respond? Strategize. What word? I mean, it takes you a couple of minutes, maybe. Maybe you got to go, as Tammy does, go out for a walk. Maybe you got to sit down, get your journal, say, and don't say, I'm so mad at, because that doesn't matter. Who cares? What matters is the love. See, I'm just old now and I'm just a love bug. And I'm only, if you see my posts, you see post a lot of stuff on love because it's where it's at. So how can you bring your communication back to where you're speaking from your heart and not your angry head? And then, to go back to these things about me I know to be true. I am kind, I am beautiful, I am capable, I am brave, I am strong. And when you do that, I still do 40 IMs every morning.
That's
And boy,
awesome.
it's the best exercise because it grounds you and it reminds you who you are, and you don't need to behave in a way that you don't know really wants to be like that. Come on.
No. Well, here's two things. One, I hardly ever, well, this is the third thing. I hardly ever get angry. It takes a lot to get me angry. Um, so that's why I said I have to go. But I always look at life, and I learned this, like you said, you always learn the hard ways, or through experiences, is never throw fuel on a fire. So that's why so I always like, gasoline, because you're going to just cause a bigger eruption, so that's where you
Yes.
have to watch your tone. You have to
Yeah.
watch those words,
Yeah. Yeah.
correct? And let me see what the second thing was. I totally just, oh, I found that sometimes some people just don't listen. And if they're not willing to listen right there, it's not worth even talking to them at that point. Just walk away, because why waste your time or waste your breath? Because, like
You're
you said,
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
am, important. I am beautiful. I have, my time is precious.
Yeah.
So,
That
Absolutely.
that power of discernment is important. Yeah, like throwing pearls before swine, so to speak. It's like, is this person going to be receptive? Is this person already proven to me, according to record, that it's going to be a waste of breath and time and energy for me to even address XYZ thing with this person? There's always hope. There's always a way that you can try. But if your gut is telling you, your gut feeling, your intuition is telling you, why are you going to bother again? Maybe look at different direction or try a different resource, but and understand
Absolutely.
who that person is, and move on. But what say ye, Patty?
Well, it's very difficult to let go. I mean, it's very easy to let go. I was working with a man. It's interesting. I'm having a lot of men now who are clients who are having the issues that women used to have, and the women are doing very well now. But in my last four in a row sessions with different men, they've all expressed frustration in communication, being a little bit blue, not feeling, not knowing anymore what their power is, where their power is. It's very interesting. I meet them. I have the agenda for the session. We never get to the agenda. Whereas with women now, we have the agenda. We do the agenda. So it tells me that women, we're coming along a long way. And I think that men right now are challenged. Leadership in the world is not very good. There's a lack of character in a lot of our world leaders. That's, I mean, I think for being a man right now, it can be difficult. I think many men in this present day world have lost their sense of sacred masculinity, and I think that their roles are being redefined, and it's a different time. So, but you've got, first of all, if somebody doesn't want to listen to you, is it just that day? One thing that most women, we all agree, you've got something going on, and your husband or your significant other will want to fix it. We say, no, no, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen to me. But then he's trying to fix it, right? Well, that can go two ways. So maybe you're talking to your partner. Maybe this is just not the time. Maybe he just doesn't want your 2 cents worth right now. Maybe he's just not, he's up to capacity with what's ever going on in his mind. Men have the same issues as women, but they manifest and they get articulated a little bit differently. And it's been my experience that men will go to anger when they are frustrated. And there's a fine line between frustration and anger. Women will get more emotional, to our credit, I think, because we'll try to find a way to deal with it. But it all comes back to, you've got to know, I mean, we're put on this planet. I think we're put on the planet to figure out how to love ourselves. Because when we can love ourselves, we can love others. That's really
Others,
what
yeah.
I think the whole thing is about here. And to love ourselves means to love the God spirit that lives in each one of us. I don't know if you or any of you are aware of the 12th century Christian mystic named Meister Eckhart. He said two things, and one I wanted to say at the beginning of your podcast this evening. He said, this is so important. If the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that will be enough.
Mhm.
We forget that. And the other thing he said, I was listening to a recording of his work a couple of weeks or months ago, and he said, we're always looking for God outside of us. And that's true. We do look to the heavens. But we must remember that God is also looking at us from the inside.
So true.
And when I heard that, it really like, this is why it's so important that we watch how we treat one another, because it's not just God up in the heavens keeping score. It's God living in us, in our souls, asking us to be better, to do more, to be kinder, to love, to take that moment and don't rip that person's face off. Are you emasculating that your husband or that man? Because if you are, you should just zip it and breathe and walk and do something. Because I really, when I heard that, I was just kind of dozing off because I listen to audiobooks sometimes as I'm going to sleep. And that woke me up. I had to get out of bed and write because I'd never heard it said that way. Like, let's remember this is a two-way street. And so let us tap into that beautiful spirit. Maybe it's the soul. I don't know. I'm not a theologian, but there is still that still quiet voice inside of us that is the voice of God. And are we listening and answering to that voice? So if you have an audience, and I believe you do, who are faith believers, let's keep our priorities right.
Wonderful. And God wants us to be his messengers or emissaries here on earth. And if we can
Absolutely.
just polish one of those attributes and represent him here on earth because we have mastered being peacemakers, being kind, let's do that on his name here on earth as angels, right? I love what you said, Patty. And I wanted to ask, this is all about the power of nature and art. And you already said that one of your daily practices is that I am practice every morning. What other practices, specifically involving nature, helps you stay aligned with your voice and purpose? If there's anything you can
Well,
share.
there's one thing of living in Dubai, where, as I said, it was 128.3 degrees the other day. I can't go to the beach and I can't go into the desert. Now, I'm a rainforest girl. Vancouver's a rainforest, right?
Right.
And I never, ever, ever thought I'd live in the desert. So I can't go into nature at this time of year now because we're at the peak. Now, come October, from October to maybe May, I love the beach. I do miss the forest in Vancouver and the mountains, although there are mountains around. They're very ancient mountains. But so I can't go into nature as much. But I often think of life. Okay, so at my age now, and you don't have to wait till you're an old person to do this. I feel that I spend a lot of time being quiet. Like I spend one day a week, and I can because I live alone. I spend one day a week being silent. And I read and I pray and I meditate. And I was writing and I write because journal writing is very, very important to just free your soul and free and burden yourself. And and I would encourage your audience to find a way to do this because I realize now that my life is my prayer.
Beautiful.
So true. And what people don't realize is the voice, to me, it's an art. I mean, because you use your voice,
Absolutely.
look at the singers, actors, actresses. But
Yeah.
if you look at your voice is an art form. And I remember when I was doing modeling and I used to do commercials and stuff, I'd have to practice using my voice in front of the mirror, the expressions and stuff. And I love what Yuli said. She said, I totally agree with the power of the voice. As a sound healer, once I stepped into my voice and became confident about using it, it was a total game changer. Participants expressed having much more profound healing experiences.
So living in the Muslim world where they pray 5 times a day, so 5 times a day you hear the call to prayer. Now, I am not a Muslim. I will not be converting to Islam. However, the vibration
Beautiful.
of those chants, I stop 5 times a day.
Hmm.
I breathe and I pray just for a
Wow.
moment because it's the vibration. I remember the first time I heard it, I was in Istanbul and it was it stopped me in my tracks and it was the vibration. And so I'm also brought up Catholic, so we had the Gregorian chant. which again is the vibration and the harmony. But to get back to what can don't you think that life is an art?
Yeah.
Don't you think that it's a masterpiece? We are both at once, we are masterpieces and a piece of the master,
Yes.
and we are also works in progress. And if we
Patty.
could,
So, so true.
Sorry, I mean it's just you were going, but those words you say were already beautiful. We are part of the master creator. We are masterpieces. And I apologize if I paused the flow of what you were gonna
no,
continue saying.
no, 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 please. But it does take me to one other thing I just want to say. And it's working well with especially my male clients these days. I decided, I knew a long time ago that I am in a joint venture with the great creator.
Mhm.
And on my very best day, I have 49% of the joint venture. And the great creator, the Most High, whatever God, whatever you want to call it, Allah, I don't really care. He has 51%. And that's on my good days. And I want people to consider that because for me, it's true. I mean, everything I create comes from on high, also from that still small voice inside. But it helps me take a lot of pressure off me. I just do my best. And if I can hit 49% of the joint venture, I'm doing really well. Sometimes I'm down quite low, but it takes that responsibility of having to be right, I'm not alone in this beautiful masterpiece that I'm creating. I'm not alone. I have great guidance from the Most High. And I am a daughter in whom I want him to be most pleased.
Wow.
And I want to live that way. Listen, I have one goal. When I get to the end and I meet my beautiful maker, I want to say, all those gifts you gave me? I gave them all away. I'm coming home with an empty tank. And I don't know if you do want to send me back down, you could fill me back up and I'd give them all away again. And I think all of us are born with gifts that we are unique to us. And I think it's a wonderful deal to want to give those gifts away through the way in which we touch people's souls. Maya Angelou said, your legacy is with every person you come across. What's
Yeah.
your legacy?
What's the footprint you're going to leave behind? Time goes by so fast when you are being with somebody that has so much wisdom.
I
And
know we're just gonna
Patty,
have to have you back, Patty.
yeah,
I'll
and
come back anytime.
yeah, and by choice, people that are in their 80s sometimes stay in that foolish path and they don't learn. And I know wisdom comes with age, but Patty, you have chosen a beautiful path. Acknowledging the master, God, going along with those 5 times the culture and the place you live in once it invites everybody into prayer and you're joining them in that, and that's beautiful. God wants to hear from us and you're doing that 5 times a day. I wanted to ask you if you could whisper one truth into the ear of every woman leader right now today, or every heart center warrior we have in this beautiful group today, men or male or female, what would it be?
In all of time, from the beginning of time and for eternity, there is only one you, and there will only be one you. And you come to this planet with greatness given to you by God. Live your beauty, walk in your beauty, and love the God that lives inside you.
Amen to that. So
Yay.
thank you so much. I'm so happy that Nun inspired you with those kind words when you were in what, 11th grade, you said?
11th grade,
That
yeah.
and gave you that encouragement and inspiration. A lot of times, like you said, it's a journey. Life's a journey. But when we look back at those times, we thought they were stumbling blocks, or we thought the world was ending, or we were being encouraged. But when you look back, you're like, oh, it was all meant to be for me to become who I am today,
And
you
it's all a
know?
gift. It's all a gift that helps you grow. And her name, incidentally, was Mother Mary Carmel. How
Mm.
sweet is that?
Oh,
She was
yes.
this little
Wow.
tiny nun. But yeah, yeah. Well, I'm happy to be here, and I just want your audience to dig deep and be brave and be bold and be beautiful because that's who you were born to be. Rumi says you were not born to crawl. You were born with wings. Use them and fly.
Mm.
Oh, so beautiful. I love it, Patty. Thank you so much. And I did share one of Patty's quotes on our Facebook page today, so which was amazing, which is like what you talked about our values. So, and you each are valuable. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it when you share your photos and quotes. And I think we should put that challenge out to where they should write down, I am beautiful, the stuff that you recommended, If you have an encouraging or inspirational quote to share, please do so, or please write down those words and share that. So
And
we
And
that
you can always share
exercise,
them with me. I would love to
yeah,
hear them. I
yeah.
love the beautiful way in which that one really, I love the beautiful way in which I move in the world, in
yes.
which I love. Just when we do it, it's so moving and we get into our true source, our true self.
So
You
I
have to
have
shut me up.
here Von Eric Tandup is just
Oh, I
making
know him.
comments,
Yes.
and he's here. He says, "I love your words, Patty Kennedy. I am glad I am here listening to all your wisdom." Aika, it says, "That's beautiful, Patty. Thank you for sharing your gifts." Sandra Crook says, "Thank you. I know there's a lot of beautiful comments because people are grateful for you giving your gift of time right now with all this amazing wisdom." So yes, we invite you all to say, "I love the beautiful way in which and then you fill in the blank."
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. I'm sending you all hugs.
Bye
See you next
bye.
Thank
week.
you. Shukran, as
Bye.
they say in Arabic. Shukran. Thank you.
Shukran.
Shukran.
Bye
Okay, thank
bye.
you very
Thanks,
much.
Patty.
Bye. Bye, everyone.